Okay, so what we're going to look at now is going to be how to write an introduction. So get ready. And we're going to begin just by giving you sort of the steps. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually write one together. So here we go. Okay, so here are the steps for writing an introduction. Let's make myself a bit small. There you go. Okay, so in terms of what you need to do when it comes to your introduction writing, you begin, okay, and write these down, yeah? You begin by first naming the text. So the way to look at this structure is it's a sort of set of steps. You complete one at a time, and each one of them is sort of like a sentence or part of a sentence. So just complete one at a time, and you'll end up with a solid introduction. So you begin by naming the text. For example, if I'm doing Visiting Hour by McCaig, like what we looked at in the last lesson, I would say Visiting Hour. I'd begin there. Then you go ahead and you name the writer. So that would be Norman McCaig. Or if you're doing, for example, Othello by Shakespeare, you would say Othello by William Shakespeare. You get the point. So name the text and then name the writer. Then what you want to do is you want to quote the question. What this means is you literally just look at what the question says. For example, if we look at the question that we used last lesson, uh, you look at what the question says and you just quote the important part. So remember when I said you underline the key part of the question or key parts of the question? So you just now quote that. So for example, you would say Visiting Hour, name the text, by Norman McCaig, name the writer, is a text, is a text which deals with a powerful emotion. So you literally just quote, okay, you just quote the question word for word. And again, this is another way of making sure that your essay is focused on the question itself. Okay, so you quote the question. Uh, Now, the next thing that you do, okay, is you give a short summary of the text. So again, if it's Visiting Hour, you just say, uh, in Visiting Hour, the speaker describes his experience of visiting a patient who is not well in hospital and describes their final sort of meeting with that patient. Something like that. If it's for example Romeo and Juliet or Othello, Romeo and Juliet, the story follows a couple that fall in love and are not able to be together. It ends in tragedy. Othello follows a general who is married to the daughter of a senator, and so on and so forth. You get the point. Yeah, just basically summarize the story. You don't want to give a very sort of detailed summary. It's just like a sort of basic summary, and just to give the sort of person who's reading your essay, just to give them some context and to show that you know what the story is about. Again, you're not writing a story here, so you don't want to go into a lot of detail. You're just giving like a basic summary of sort of what happens, and excuse me, you're just giving a basic summary of kind of like what happens. And you can also mention here maybe one or two of sort of the main characters, but again, it's not detailed. It's just a few sentences, at most 3 or 4 sentences, just basically saying what the story or text, poem, play, what basically happens in it, what it's about. Okay, now the next thing is you're going to say this essay will focus on, and that is a starter sentence that you can use anytime you write an essay. So now you say this essay will focus on, and now you just give the specific focus. So remember in the last lesson we talked about how before you even write your essay, you lay out what the specific focus is going to be, basically answering or taking what the question says, like main character, powerful emotion, and then flipping that into a specific related to text. So, for example, um, here I was talking about Gatsby, so main character would be Gatsby. The emotion would be sadness. If it's visiting hour, I would be talking about the speaker and emotion of sadness again. So I'll say this essay will focus on, and here I would say the emotion of sadness. Okay, so you want to be specific. The emotion of sadness that the speaker feels when in the hospital, or you can just say the emotion of sadness, something like that. So basically, just laying out a specific focus for the essay. So again, um, making starting out your essay in a way that's gonna make it focused. It's gonna make it all sort of logically tied together, and it's gonna make it uh directly focused on answering the question. Okay, and now the final thing you do is you just end, okay, by looking at your essay plan, which we spoke about in the last lesson, how to make. Looking at your essay plan, and then looking at the techniques that you've put in your essay plan. Uh, for example, word choice, sentence structure, yeah, metaphor, and then saying, and then listing them here, okay? Saying this essay will comment on the writer's use of, and then listing what techniques you're going to comment on. So for example, for me, based on the essay plan I just did, it would be word choice, sentence structure, and metaphor. Now, if you're doing a media essay about a film, then you would say this essay will focus on, and then you just put the film techniques. So that's one thing also to mention. If you're doing a media essay, okay, then instead of word choice and sentence structure, obviously you would just put film techniques like close up or pan shot, overhead shot. Uh, you get the point. Yeah, you get the point. Dialogue, not dialogue, but you understand the different techniques, yeah, the different media and film techniques. You would just sort of mention those instead of the uh, language techniques. Okay, so again, name the text, name the writer, quote the question, give a little summary of the text, say what the essay is going to specifically focus on in terms of tying it to how you're going to answer the question, the specific focus, and then just laying out what techniques you're going to focus on. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write an introduction. Okay, so here is your example introduction. So write this along with me. Okay, so we'll begin. Name the text, name the writer. What we'll do is we'll do this for visiting hour. So we'll just literally start one thing at a time. Oops, visiting hour. Okay, then we name the writer by McCaig. Okay, and then we quote the question. We're going to use the emotion one. Is a text which features excuse me, features a strong emotion. And again, all I did is I literally just quoted word for word what the question said. If you look at the question here, okay, power, which deals with a powerful emotion. Okay, choose the text which deals with a powerful emotion. So literally just quoting word for word. Okay, that's it. Now we're on this short summary of the text. Okay, we just say in the text, the speaker describes their experience. I'm just explaining what happens in the text in a very sort of basic, general kind of way. Their experience of visiting, excuse me, of visiting patient in hospital, and they describe their final meeting with the patient. Okay, so again, just very simple sort of summary, very simple summary. If you wanted to go in a little bit more detail, you can, but again, it shouldn't be very detailed. Remember, the only thing that The purpose of this is just to give the reader a basic understanding of what the story is. It's not to tell the story, it's not to give a lot of detail, it's just to give a basic understanding. So I would say at most maybe 3 or 4 sentences, no more than that. Okay, remember the detail and the actual writing depth will come in your main body paragraphs, and that's when you can go into a lot of detail. Okay, now the next thing is going to be relating to our specific focus. So we look at our essay plan and we realize that we're going to talk about, I didn't actually write it here, but if I wrote it here, it would be specific focus, sadness, excuse me, due to patient slowly dying. So that would be the specific focus, yeah. The emotion is sadness due to patient slowly dying. So that's what we're going to mention here now. This essay will focus on, okay. This essay will focus on the emotion of sadness that the speaker feels due to the patient being unwell and slowly dying. Okay. Due to the patient being unwell, and you could put here ultimately dying or it doesn't really matter. You're just basically laying out again the specific focus of the essay. So we know that the essay question was general about powerful emotion. So here you make it specific. This essay is going to focus on the emotion of sadness. And then you can just even make it more specific. Sadness the speaker feels due to the patient being unwell and slowly dying. Okay, and now all we do is we just do this last part. Okay. And again, it's word for word in terms of the beginning part. This essay will comment on, and you can start every essay you write sort of similar to this. We'll comment on the writer's use of, and then I go back to my essay plan and I look at what techniques I've mentioned. So I've mentioned word choice. Yeah. I mentioned sentence structure. Oops. Okay, so I mentioned sentence structure, word choice, and metaphor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them in that order. Okay, this essay will comment on the writer's use of word choice, sentence structure, and metaphor. That is all you need to do. And if you notice, we have a very nice introduction, excuse me, which I'll read for you. Visiting Hour by McCaig is a text which features a powerful emotion. In the text, the speaker describes their experience of visiting a patient in hospital, and they describe their final meeting with the patient. This essay will focus on the emotion of sadness that the speaker feels due to the patient being unwell and slowly dying. This essay will comment on the writer's use of word choice, sentence structure, and metaphor. So, do you see how professional and how sort of academic that introduction sounds? And it's literally just doing one step at a time. Okay? One step at a time. That is all you need to do. So, now what I would recommend that you do is first practice your essay planning. So create an essay plan. Okay, create an essay plan for your critical essay text. And I would recommend you look for your quotes and then look for 6 quotes. Okay, just like what we did the last time. Go back to that lesson. Do the steps from there. Create an essay plan. Okay. Now look for a question. You can even just use the specific emotion question. Most texts feature a strong emotion anyway. Lay out the specific focus, okay, whatever the main emotion in the text is. And then what I want you to do, okay, is I want you to practice writing an introduction for your own text. Now, ideally, what you want to do is have a look at a past paper, go to the practice questions section. It's the last step in this essay section. Okay, now write an introduction, write an essay plan, Okay, and write an introduction for each of those questions, maybe for 3 to 5 different questions. Write 3 to 5 different introductions and do it until you feel like you're comfortable with it, until you've got the steps sort of memorized. Keep writing introductions, write another one, until you feel comfortable and until you feel that you have the steps fully memorized. And remember, in terms of your essay plan, the quotes can stay the same. All you have to change is just basically the specific focus. Yeah, just the specific focus. And that's going to be something matching whatever the question asks you. But the quotes, this part here, okay, this can all stay the same. All you have to do is you just have to learn to apply what you've got here to fit whatever the question asks, to fit whatever your specific focus is. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the lessons that are coming. Okay, good job.